Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net. It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Welcome to Sporgy, the show that gives you half-ass sports fans giving their half-ass opinions.
And now, here are your hosts.
It's Sporgy. It's the Fantasy Hack. We're back for Week 5. I'm Chris. With me is JR.
Here from the desert.
Yes. And another good week for me. Not sure about how you did, but we'll get to that in a second. It's also clear that the NFL goes through New England and Kansas City at this point. Do you disagree there, John?
No, it's sort of looking that way. Kansas City didn't even play their best game and still came away with the win. But the Lions sure looked like a real football team. You can't be too discouraged by that.
I have thoughts on that. We'll get to them.
Okay.
I went 5-1 this week. Couldn't get James Conner to have just an average game, right? So I could get all my victories, right, in my pro leagues, one in the college league. But yeah, I could tell you, and it's unfortunate I have to say this sentence, but the team where I had Antonio Brown, well, that's the struggling team. I'm 1-3 in that league. Everyone else is 2-2 or 3-1. Think what you want about the man. He left a huge hole in my fantasy lineup. That's pretty much that team. I picked Saquon, my first pick, and Antonio Brown was my third pick. So, yeah, two of my top 3 picks have been trashed in that league. So, it's a struggle.
Well, I went 5-5, but I was let down big time. Both of my big money leagues, I was poised for a victory. I came up 15 yards short on the Sunday night game. I had Michael Thomas, who needed to get 100 yards to get a 5-point bonus. He only got 90 or 95, and then I would have needed one more point after that, so I really needed 15 more yards. But he had 95 yards with like 8 minutes left in the game, and the game flow just never came back to him. So that was a frustrating one. And then all I needed from Juju Smith-Schuster last night was 7 points to tie and 8 for the win, and he got 1 point. 3 catches for 15 yards, which is the same thing he had at halftime, which I didn't see the game. I was at WWE event for my son's birthday, but I think I'm glad I missed it. 1 point from Juju Smith-Schuster. And so I lost both games that both were very winnable, and I had a receiver that just didn't quite get there for me in both games. But, hey, the great thing about fantasy football is last week's over. It's a new week. But before we move on to that new week, let's go recap some of the last week's games. And I'd like to start out with a Thursday night game with my beloved Philadelphia Eagles. Escaped with a win in Lambeau over the Packers. Wild game, came down to the last play where the ball was batted away and the Eagles intercepted at the goal line for the win. But as far as fantasy, there were a few developments that were interesting to fantasy players. One would be Jordan Howard logged 53% of the snaps and was also participating on some of the passing plays. So Miles Sanders was knocked down to only 35% of the snaps. So it looks like the Eagles emphasized the ground game. Wise choice against the Green Bay D, who could not stop the run. And Darren Sproles only got 11%, so he was also de-emphasized. So might be something to look forward to. Jordan Howard has certainly earned more playing time, has been the more effective runner, even though I'm a big fan of Miles Sanders, Penn State product. So that's something to look forward to, and even on the waiver wire, there's still a lot of leagues where Howard's available. So
see, I'm not. The Eagles' backfield is just. I don't want any part of that backfield. It's too inconsistent. My trust Jordan Howard was available in a good portion of my waiver wires, and even a league where I already dropped him, and it's just. I don't know, man. Just look at his game log so far, and to me, last week was more of the exception rather than the rule. So, I mean, I know we're only a month in. I will qualify it with that. But if you look at his performance, last week just seems like the exception rather than the rule. I don't know if I can trust him going. And again, he's a running back on a Doug Peterson team. Doug Peterson has made it very clear that he's a running back by committee guy. I just don't know if I want any part of the Eagles' backfield.
Well, I would say this. I've got a number of teams that are thin at running back, and I'm desperate. I mean, I'm desperate enough that I was starting guys like Frank Gore and Darrell Williams last week. And you could do a lot worse than have Jordan Howard be your last guy on the bench. He's pretty much established himself as the goal line back. So if nothing else, he might be touchdown dependent. But, hey, 53% of the snaps on the good offense, you could do a lot worse.
I mean, I agree with you there. If you need a running back, if you are in a,
there's not much out there on the waiver wire, and if Howard's open, it's probably going to be one of your best options at this point.
If you need a running back,
would you rather have him, Peyton Barber?
Yeah, I got a guy in a league of mine. His team is 0-4, and he is very thin at running back. If you're in a situation like that, pick up Jordan Howard. But if you're sitting at 3-1 or 4-0 after a month. And you're just looking for someone who could fill in on your bye weeks. I mean, I wouldn't pick him up.
Fair enough. And then let's go look at the Green Bay running game. There's a big-time injury to Jamal Williams, and if anybody's paying attention, Jamal Williams had been creeping up on about sharing an equal time share with Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has not been particularly effective this year. So just as Jamal Williams is up there, evening up the carries, he gets hurt, and then Aaron Jones took 84% of the snaps with Williams being out. Thankfully, Williams, who went off on a stretcher, kind of weird game. Two guys, one from each team, went off on a stretcher, and they're both probably going to play this week. So that's a really good news. Mm-hmm. But, certainly was scary when you see those guys go off on the cart and mobilized and, don't know if they're okay or not. But thankfully they are. So a couple other tidbits from that game before we move on. I cut Jimmy Graham in one of my leagues. Finally had enough of him, and of course he scored a touchdown and got 10 points.
Whatever.
So 70% of the snap.
He put up 2 goose eggs. Don't worry about that.
No, I'm still not a believer. I think he's touchdown dependent, and he did score in that game. And but of course, as soon as you cut him, he has a game. But I'm not going to be missing him on my roster. There's other options out there more effective. And Alshon Jeffrey came back, but really didn't do much. I think he's still not 100% health, but at least having him on the field helped. And Zach Ertz really doesn't seem to be posting up those big games, but that's because with all those Deshaun Jackson injured, and even though Jeffrey's back, it's been a lot of double teams for Ertz, and and then we got that other tight end, Dallas Goedert's a pretty good one. So a lot of mouths to feed in Philly. Beware of almost any Eagles, really. It might get a little bit better when Deshaun Jackson comes back, but then on the other side of the coin, that's just another mouth to feed.
The only Eagle I would say that you should own is Carson Wentz. Everyone else just kind of...
I still think Ertz is worth owning, but he's not what he was.
Zach Ertz is Zach Ertz. He will show up. You are correct.
So, and Aaron Rodgers looked good, but the Eagles secondary make a lot of quarterbacks look good. So we'll see. This is not the Aaron Rodgers of 5 years ago, though. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, but he's one point I keep making to my other co-hosts on Sporgy is they're still 3-1. I mean, it's people were talking about this was going to be a rebuilding year for the Packers, and they're probably going to be in the basement of the NFC North. And I know we're only a month in, but they're 3-1.
3-1, and Rodgers is still Rodgers.
Yeah, it still says Rodgers on the back of his jersey.
Ago, but the Rodgers of this year is better than most quarterbacks in the NFL. So
I put Rodgers in the category with Tom Brady, where as long as he's on the field, you got a shot.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. So let's move on to a battle of not so good teams. The winless Washington Redskins took on the New York Giants and managed a field goal, and that's it.
Danny Dimes, 2-0.
Finally, the Redskins fans got their wish. Dwayne Haskins entered the game for Case Keenum, the ineffective Case Keenum, and threw 3 interceptions on his first game. So there's really no Redskins worth owning. I think we could all agree on that. If you absolutely had to have one player, I'd maybe say Chris Thompson.
Hey, Terry McLaurin is worth owning.
Well, he's hurt.
Yeah, he'll be back this week. He had a minor hamstring injury.
Well, yeah, I guess you could say that. But last week he wasn't in, and there was just really nobody worth owning. Chris Thompson is available in some waivers. I mean, you'd have to be even more desperate than the Jordan Howard pick for that one. But the Giants looked half decent, and I remember one of my big money leagues, even though I did lose, I went to step my lineup, and I saw how bad my running backs were because I had Le'Veon Bell on a bye. And I actually was amazed that no one picked Gallman up on waivers. So I paid $5 and picked him up, and he got me a pretty good day. Because he had like 22 points. So
don't get used to that. They played the Redskins.
Oh, that's what I was about to say. My notes here say he looked good, but it was against Washington. So I wouldn't expect that every week. But, hey, at least he came through one week. I got something out of him. Sterling Shepard, 90% of the snaps, also effective. But, again, take it with a grain of salt because it was the Skins. However, there is some help on the way for young Daniel Jones in the way of Golden Tate, your old Lions buddy. Actually played for the Lions and then the Eagles last year, and he was suspended for the first 4 games, but he returns this week, so could be a sneaky waiver pick, although most of the leagues I'm in, somebody was onto that and already picked him up last week. But if not, if he's still out there, grab him. He could do a lot worse. So that's we'll talk more about that in the waivers. So I'm going to turn it over to you to recap the Chiefs-Lions game and what a roller coaster ride that must have been for you.
Lions fans, calm down. It's all I want to say. The Lions were in this game. They halfway looked like a real football team, but let's face it. For him, Patrick Mahomes had a shit day, and he still beat you. I mean, if you're going to go to the playoffs, Lions fans, this is the kind of team you have to beat, and you didn't beat them. You could argue that you competed with them all day, but almost don't get you into the playoffs. That being said, I mean, Mahomes. If Mahomes' floor is 18 points, I mean, he's the man, right? I mean, a crappy day for Pat Mahomes, 315 and no touchdowns. I mean, come on.
That's about as low as it gets for him.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Kerryon Johnson finally he showed up like second week in a row. Some hope for the Lions' run game, but Matt Stafford. I've seen this movie before. Matt Stafford. He like the Lions only usually play one half a game. Matt Stafford usually only plays one half of a season. He had that one season a couple years ago where people were putting him in the talk with he's an elite quarterback. He's not. And let's face it, he's 10 years in. It's time to start thinking about the Lions post Matt Stafford. The one thing I'll say about this Lions-Chiefs game is I am encouraged, but I'm not hopeful, if that makes any sense. I mean, yeah, I saw the Lions going into the bye 1-4. They're going in 2-1-1, but yeah. I mean, Kenny Golladay has a good game. T.J. Hawkinson has a good game despite hurting himself. Which by the way, can we stop the leaping tight ends? This is a new fad, and seems to be a dangerous one. I mean, did Gronk do it once, and now everybody wants to do it? Hawkinson he's in the concussion protocol, but it's usually a couple weeks you're out of that, unless you're Jordan Reed. The Chiefs once again. Pat Mahomes just makes whoever a star, right? He picks on a receiver and just does his thing. So, yeah, Lions, you are much better shape than I thought you would be at this point in the season. But I mean, again, I'm encouraged, but I'm not. not buying it. You know.
Well, from a fantasy standpoint, I sure like Galladay and Hawkinson.
Yes.
And Kerryon Johnson also was solid.
I own lots of all three of those players.
Well, I have Galladay in one league, and he had a big day for me, so that was good.
I can tell you, Baker Mayfield don't shape up. He's going to get dropped for Matt Stafford in the league. But
now, I had picked up Darrell Williams, desperate.
It paid off.
And it paid off, but you know what? I'm dropping him this week. He's pretty low on that Kansas City totem pole, and I think Damian Williams will be healthy soon.
And it seems to be shady.
I think I got away with one there, and I'm going to cash out my chips before counting on him again.
And quite honestly, it seems like Shady's the back to own in that offense.
It does, but I think Williams just got lucky. He was in the right place at the right time. He got the touchdowns. McCoy got way more touches and had more yards per carry. But Williams, I think I got really lucky with that. It's kind of like when you hit a four of a kind in poker and you go home. So that's what I'm going to do there. So, that was an interesting, fun game to watch. It went back and forth, but, kind of felt bad for you Lions fans. But it is amazing to see that most Lions fans were happy that they were competitive.
Which, to me, is half the problem with the Lions and the Lions fan base. Stop being satisfied by, hey, we competed. No! You should be satisfied with a win. Sorry, I digress.
All right. Well, let's move on to the Titans and the Falcons. The Falcons really are a Jekyll and Hyde team this year, and that Falcons defense does not impress me. I think they're banged up in the secondary. And the Titans, it's the Derrick Henry show from what I saw in that game.
The Falcons, while their record is one game off of your Eagles, the Falcons and the Eagles, I throw them in the basket along with the Vikings, maybe a couple other teams that we'll talk about as we go along here. Of quarter of the way in, I don't know who you are. I am still not sure what kind of team you are yet. You have all the weapons. Maybe you've just had a bad draw. I mean, I think we've talked about it before. Let's be honest. The preseason's ending for a lot of the starters here. September is essentially the preseason for most of the A teams. So,
but Derrick Henry played 75% of the snaps, and Deion Lewis was not much of a factor. So most of the game script was centered around Henry, from what I saw. Corey Davis, I think, had a decent day, and Delaney Walker looks like a huge disappointment. He's not performing, so he's one of those guys. If you have him as a tight end, you better look around for somebody else because he's just not putting up the points.
Yeah,
and I don't. What do you say about the Falcons, man? I had Calvin Ridley 2 weeks in a row. Got nothing for me pretty much.
He seems to be a guy that went way too high in the draft.
Yeah, I would agree. But I had high hopes for him, and he's fine riding now. And of course, now that I bench him, he'll go off and have 150 yards this week. But
and Matt Ryan having a Mahomes type day, 397 yards, but no touchdowns.
Yeah, and Devontae Freeman, Ito Smith is vulturing all the touchdowns. I think he got another one this week. Says he has 3 of the 4 touchdowns in the red zone. So Freeman's another disappointing back.
I mean, a month in might be a little too early to make this call. At least we'll do this at the month in mark. I'm going to say we'll check back at the 2-month mark, but I'm going to put Devontae Freeman up there as one of the biggest fantasy busts of this year. He has not done anything for anybody.
I think pretty much the whole Falcons team. I mean, even Julio Jones didn't have a day last week. It was a weird week. There was a lot of big names did not produce this week, and a lot of them let me down.
Yeah, Earl on Sporgy has dubbed this week Vegas week because it's the week Vegas just cleaned up.
I think you're right. Austin Hooper had a game. Who would have saw that coming? He'll probably disappear into the abyss for the next 3 weeks. But
yeah, we've talked about he's a boomer bust guy. You're getting 20 out of him, or you're getting 2. You're not getting anywhere in between.
All right, well, let's move on to the Browns and the Ravens. What a shocker this was. The Browns put a 40 burger up on the Ravens?
Yeah, I mean, this is after last week I called the Ravens legit for hanging with the Chiefs, and then they play the Browns, who I think you and I and a lot of people have, and it's on us, not a month in. We left the Browns for dead already, and they showed up, and Nick Chubb said, "Hey, hold my beer." So
sure did. And, of course, he played against me in, I think, 2 leagues, which I lost both of those.
I survived him, but only because I had CMC. CMC offset him. But it's Odell. Quiet game.
Odell, man, there's another one. A great, not living up to his draft position. His ADP was first rounder usually. End of the first round, early second. He has had one good game.
Yeah.
And it wasn't this week, but the Brownies got it done. It was all the Nick Chubb show, as you said. And let's see, that Ravens, Lamar Jackson okay, but not the big games he was having earlier. I started Marquise Brown, and this was my biggest blunder why I lost one of my money leagues. I saw that Chris Godwin hadn't practiced all week. So I said, well, he might not play. I'm going to put Marquise Brown in. He had a big game, and they're playing the Browns. Marquise Brown got me 2 points. Chris Godwin had 30 on the bench, and I lost by like 12. So that was my fault. So not much I can say there. But Marquise Brown is going to be a boom or bust. He's all the passes that I saw in that game were just dinking and dunking. They didn't go down the field and give Brown a chance to catch a long one. Same thing that the Steelers did with Smith-Schuster from what I read about the game. So I don't know what to think about the Ravens. Mark Ingram had a pretty good day, didn't he?
Yeah. But, Lamar Jackson comes back to earth for a game. Like I don't think I'm worried about the Ravens, quite honestly.
No. I think you got to put that week behind as an aberration week. I think things will come back to normal this week. We can hope. And then we had the Raiders take the Colts out. Who saw that coming?
John Gruden. That's about it.
The two good players. There's 3 really good fantasy players, and one of them is not Derek Carr, but Tyrell Williams looked pretty good. Darren Waller, the tight end's looking like a nice find, who was undrafted in almost every league, and Josh Jacobs looking decent. I don't think any of them had huge gains, but they produced solid numbers. And then we go to the Colts. Marlon Mack got hurt, so
I think
that hurt them a little bit.
Well, I think that's probably why the Raiders beat the Colts. You had no T.Y. Hilton.
No T.Y. Hilton. That hurt a lot. Jacoby Brissett held his own, but just didn't have the weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 drops by Eric Ebron. I know that'll make you happy.
Yeah.
The former Lions draft pick.
But the Raiders are doing a lot better than I thought they were going to do, quite honestly.
Yep. Well, they're just ramping up for their move to Vegas next year.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Patriots and the Bills. That was a very, very strange game. I was actually at a local watering hole where they had all the games on, and there was a couple people near us that were rooting for the Patriots, and they were sweating that one out. Tom Brady, I think, had 3 fantasy points this week. And he threw an interception, didn't he? One of the first times he's ever thrown in the interception. I forget what it was at the very end or something, but yeah, they could have very well lost that game. The Bills went for it on 4th and goal at the 1 instead of getting a field goal when it was like 13-10, and they could have tied it. But the Patriots are the Patriots. Even when they play like crap, they find a way to win.
Yeah, I think the problem with the Bills is the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
Their defense
Josh Allen took a cheap shot hit and got out of the game, and then who was it? Chase Daniel came in? Who was the backup for the Bills? Matt Barkley.
Matt Barkley, yes.
Chase Daniel was the Bears backup who came in. Matt Barkley, he threw the game-clinching interception. That's right.
Yeah.
Poor Josh Allen, man. He balls out, man, but he's limited, both in supporting cast and just limitations with the passing game. But he sure can run.
I will have to say the Patriots defense looks like the Patriots defense of 10 years ago. It's been a while since they've looked like this.
And you know what? It's a great defense to have in fantasy, too.
Oh, yeah.
I snagged them in one of my big leagues, and they're paying dividends.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
Jack will talk a little bit in a little bit when he comes on about Dawson Knox too.
Yeah, I mean, you combine that offense with that defense, sorry, Chiefs, but it's over. Like, the Patriots got you on D. Like, you can have that high-powered offense all you want, Chiefs, but the Patriots' defense is not playing around this year. Good luck.
The only really notable performance that has to be mentioned from that game is the ageless Frank Gore. Actually got over 100 yards in this game.
75-year-old Frank Gore.
Unbelievable. And I actually cut him for Darrell Williams in that one league. They both got 15 points. It didn't haunt me, but I felt bad about cutting him after that. Got 100 yards against the Patriots defense. Who would have saw that coming?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy. Well, it was definitely a weekend to drink while you watch football. It was just some amazing, weird stuff happening. So then we got the Panthers and the Texans. I didn't see the Panthers beating the Texans with a backup quarterback, but that's exactly what happened. That Panthers defense is another one that you might want to pick up in fantasy. They look like the real deal. Another dinosaur that keeps producing. It didn't have a huge day, but it surprised me overall is Greg Olsen. Really not much else other than CMC to like on any of these teams. DJ Moore, maybe. Kurt Samuel, but one of those guys might have a day, but they're never going to both have a day. And especially playing for a Kyle Allen as the quarterback. And it doesn't look like Cam Newton's going to be back anytime soon. So
now he went on social media with his cigar and his red wine and said he's taking his time.
Yeah, he's getting paid.
CMC, in my opinion, he's heading for a rushing title. If he keeps up the pace he's on, I mean, between his pass catching ability and his running ability, I mean, he's the man right now.
What I'm seeing in a lot of these games, and especially this the Carolina offense, is just, and the Steelers did it too, the dinking and dunking and not stretching the field. Sooner or later, you're going to have to get a speedster out there and open things up. Yeah. It's certainly a lot better, a lot more fun to watch. But the Texans, I mean, DeAndre Hopkins was awfully quiet.
Mm-hmm. And too, the Texans need a running back.
Duke Johnson is not getting it cut.
Yeah, Duke Johnson and Carlos Hyde ain't getting you to January football. They're not.
Couldn't agree more. All right. Well, is it even worth mentioning the Chargers over the Dolphins? Other than the Dolphins actually had a lead for like 5 minutes.
Well, I just hope Austin Eckler enjoyed his swan song, because that's probably the best game you're getting out of Austin Eckler for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
Melvin
it's
Gordon's
a shame.
back.
He's really doing well. But Melvin Gordon owners, your patience has been paid off. He should be back this week. I'm not going to buy this stuff that he's not going to get a full workload or that. I hear that too much, and then he'll go off for 150 yards this week. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens. But I think the Eckler show is over. Yeah, he'll be a nice fifth guy on your bench now. But boy, that was hopefully he got it while the getting was good, because he's had a good first 4 weeks of the season. But the party's over, and there's nothing to like about any Dolphins. I'm not even going to go there. There's really no. Yeah, it's a dumpster fire, and the tanking. It's just put the tanks on the helmets now.
If you have a Dolphin on your fantasy team, your season's already over.
And you probably shouldn't even be playing fantasy football.
Yeah. So let's talk about, are the Rams broken?
Oh my gosh. 55 points they gave up to the Buccaneers. What happened there?
Jared Goff throws for 517 yards, and you still lose. That Rams defense is broken, in my opinion. Aaron Donald can't do it all.
When you give up 55 points, you got problems. But when you give up 55 points to the Buccaneers, you really got problems. So I have to agree with you.
And at
I don't know
home.
what's going on there?
And at home. It was at home. The Buccaneers flew 3 hours. The Buccaneers were playing with jet lag and beat them by 15 points in their own house.
And the aforementioned Chris Godwin had, I think, 180 yards and 1 or 2 touchdowns. 30 points that I had on my bench because I thought he was hurt.
Should we both eat our words collectively on Chris Godwin? We were both not. We both thought he was a guy going way too high in draft season. Well, he's proven us why he went where he went.
Absolutely. But you know what? I've learned my lesson. From now on, if somebody's active, they're going in. If they're a higher ranked player like that, I'm not going to say, well, I didn't practice all week. You might not play half the snaps. Because you know what? You're either playing or you're not playing.
Yeah.
You can go, you're going to be active. So that's the lesson to be learned. And you'd think after all these years of playing fantasy football, I would have learned it, but I didn't, and it cost me a win.
You buying Ronald Jones? I'm hearing a lot of people say to pick him up and stash him.
I'm buying Ronald Jones only because he's one of the few guys that may or may not even be left on waivers or as a free agent in your leagues. Again, I'm desperate. I was playing guys like Frank Gore and Darrell Williams last week because of bye week stuff. So, yeah, I'm picking him up only because volume. He is getting most of the snaps. I know Peyton Barber is still getting some of them, but I think the tides have turned where they're going more with him. Let's see if I can find that stat. But yeah, I think week by week we're seeing Ronald Jones take more and more of the action, and I think he's surpassed Peyton Barber as a starter. But you could do a lot better. I'm not saying he's a world beater, but again, there's limitations on what's out there now. Okay, so maybe I'm off here. It says he took 49% of the snaps and 20 of the 35 running back opportunities. So it's still almost a 50-50, I guess. Oh, Barber only played 26% of the snaps.
And
so
even though I
had some no running back sets in there.
I just talked a whole bunch of shit about him. Goff, any Rams receiver, Gurley, all worth owning. If they're on your waiver wire, which you're probably not, they should be on your team.
Yeah, and there's one other player of note that I'd like to mention is one of a huge bust, O.J. Howard. He played 88% of the snaps, but he's blocking almost all the time now. Cameron Brate is out there for the passing plays. So, what a disappointment. If you drafted O.J. Howard, he was like the fourth tight end.
Yeah, especially where he was going. Yeah, he was predicted to be like a top-tier tight end this year, and he's pretty much been a bust.
Thankfully, I don't have him in any league, but if I did, I'd be really disappointed that what a letdown he's been. Mm-hmm. But Chris Godwin owners, you're getting the rewards for him. Evans is still producing pretty good on most weeks, so
it took him a couple weeks to get warmed up.
And Jameis Winston, had a huge day, but he still threw a bonehead pick near the end. Could have cost him the game, but one of his better outings. You never know what you're going to get with Jameis. Mm-hmm. And then we got the Vikings and the Bears, and boy, that Bears defense, man, they are just tough to score on. The Viking held the Vikings at 6 points, and it was a garbage 6 points. It was 16-0 late in the game. The Vikings, man, if you're a Vikings fan, you probably just makes you want to throw up to hear Kirk Cousins' name. $84 million disappointment.
I mean,
the bright side in that Minnesota offense to me is Dalvin Cook. Yeah, you get a little bit of Thielen here once in a while, a Diggs, but against the Bears, you didn't get anything from anybody. It was ugly. Dalvin, I think, got some stuff, didn't he?
Yeah,
and
Stephon Diggs finally showed up this season, but yeah, Vikings. It said they're in the basket with the Eagles and a couple other teams. Is quarter of the way in. I don't know who you are. You're losing to crappy teams and you're beating good teams. I don't know. To me, they should have destroyed the Bears. Yes, the Bears have that defense, but they had their second string quarterback. They should have ate the Bears for lunch.
Yep. And Allen Robinson seemed to do pretty well with the backup. So Chase Daniel went to Robinson often. So that was encouraging if you're a Robinson owner. David Montgomery, I think, had a pretty okay day.
I was going to ask, how long do we hold on to him? I have him on a team, and he's been...
Oh, I think he bought himself one more week, but...
He's been okay. That's the best adjective I'll give for him. He's been okay. He'll give you 10 points. That's about it. He's not running into the... Has he scored a touchdown yet?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's not any of my rosters, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, he's on one of mine. He's supposed to be my flex guy, and yeah, he's warmed the bench every week except last week because I needed someone because Saquon went out. Jags and Broncos.
Talk about a running back that did do well. Leonard Fournette had a couple big, long runs. and put up huge points. So it's good to see him back.
With 0 touchdowns.
Down on him.
225 yards, no touchdowns. Well, let's be honest. He took his time showing up.
He rumbled and bumbled and stumbled for 80 yards twice, but no touchdown. But that's okay. We'll take 200 and some yards all day long.
But he took his time showing up. That's the thing. If you're a Leonard Fournette owner, this is what the best week you've gotten out of him so far?
Yeah, well, I mean, the last few years he didn't even look like he wanted to be in the league. So I did read that he had come in great shape this year and maybe with a better attitude. He probably realized that his career is either going to go north or south this year. So I think he's better than in previous years. Is he somebody that you can count on a day like this every week? No, but he ripped off some big ones, and the Broncos defense, that's formidable D. So not much else to like. Of course, Gardner Minshew, certainly a folk hero, but DJ Chark, again, had a big solid day. I think Jack picked him in his trios last week. We'll let him talk about Chark. And then we got the Broncos. Royce Freeman looks like he's getting more snaps than Lindsey. But, Lindsey got the touchdowns last week and seems to be getting in the goal line carries. So it's one of those, do you really want to have two Broncos or do you want to just avoid that whole mess with Freeman and Lindsey?
I think the only Bronco worth owning is Emmanuel Sanders. And Cortland Sutton if you need a bench player.
Yep, and Sanders, you have to give him credit coming back from Achilles injury. He's got his speed back. Cortland Sutton had a big day. So, but he's not going to have a big day every week. I think Sanders will be more reliable. But, again, with the bye week fill-ins, Sutton might be a guy you had on your fourth or fifth wide receiver that could come in. And then I got to talk about my favorite game of the week other than, of course, the Eagles-Packers. But so great to see the Saints beat the Cowboys even without a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. I'm starting to now. It's 2 weeks without Drew Brees, so most of this is conjecture. I'm starting to think the Saints might be one of those teams where it's the system, not the quarterback.
Well, maybe. I think when you have Alvin Kamara, that helps a lot because Alvin Kamara can catch, he can run. He's just a great guy to have, and then you got a nice supporting cast. You got Taysom Hill, kind of keep the defense off guard.
But I think, quite honestly, I mean, look at they beat two teams with winning records without Drew Brees. They went to Seattle. They went to the 12th man and put a beat down on Seattle, and then the Cowboys come in and they beat the. So maybe
they do look for real.
Yeah, maybe the Saints D is saving them, but I'm just starting to think maybe this is one of those teams where it's. A lot of people say it about New England. Maybe it's the system. Maybe it's not the QB. But we'll see. It's 2 games without Drew Brees. We'll see how the rest of them go.
I'm looking to pick up the Saints defense after what I saw. I liked what I saw against the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. And if you had a Cowboys, I mean, even your normally reliable Zeke Elliott didn't have a huge week.
Nope, nobody did. I own Zeke, Amari, and Dak on separate teams, and none of them broke 10 points.
Well, it was just kind of a weird week. That kind of sums up the whole week, that game. And then we go to the Bungles and the Steelers on Monday night. I'll let you talk about it because I didn't see the game.
It was two awful teams playing each other. I believe some of the podcasts I listened to were dubbing this game Somebody Has to Win. I mean, the first series, the Steelers looked awful. But for the rest of the game, the Bengals looked awful. So, I mean, Mason Rudolph looked serviceable. James Conner has him a day, but, I mean, the Steelers' passing game, you talk about dink and dunk, this whole game was dink and dunk on both sides of the ball. I was watching the Steelers going, you got to air it out at some point if you're going to win, because it's all they did the first half. It was all 10-yard plays or less.
Glad I missed it.
Yeah. And then Joe Mixon catches...
much more fun watching AJ Styles at WWE.
Joe Mixon catches 4 passes for no yards.
Juju Smith-Schuster, 3 catches for 15 yards.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Juju. Thanks for nothing.
This was just all around. This was just one of those weeks.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder about that Pittsburgh. I guess you got to play Connor. And Samuels, it looks like he had a pretty big... it looks like they did more running.
And as of right now, gun to my head, if I have to have a Pittsburgh Steeler on my roster, it's James Conner and end of list.
Yeah, I'll be asking anybody if they want to trade for Schuster. I have a feeling I'm not going to get any takers. So I think he's a casualty of the Antonio Brown mess and the Ben Roethlisberger injury.
See, I think he's more of a casualty of the Ben injury. Because Ben was going off all off-season training camp. Like, Juju was his number one guy. Juju was telling you he was Ben's number one guy. And, yeah, now it just goes to show you different players have different chemistry with people.
Sporgy. ChristopherMedia.net.
It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net. It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net. It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net. It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Sporgy.
All right, then. That wraps up the banter about last week's games. Let's look forward to this week for those of us that didn't have such a good week, like me going 5-5. I'm looking forward to this. And before we get into recommended Week 5 pickups, we're going to go to Jack. My son Jack, who started with us last week, he's going to talk about the players he threw out last week. We're going to call this Jack's Trios, where he picked 3 people last week. We'll see how they did, and he's going to put 3 people up that might fly under the radar for you to pick up off the waiver wire this week. So welcome back, Jack.
All right, thanks. So we're going to start off Dawson Knox. Now, I was against the Patriots, but he caught 3 of 3 for 58 yards in the loss to the Patriots. I mean, a guy that's, he's expected to get 0. He's not a guy that you want to be starting, but, 58 yards for a bench guy ain't that bad, I guess.
And you did preface it the last week by saying that.
He's going to Tennessee next week to play the Titans, and they have a pretty good defense, so I don't know about that start. But
he gave you over 10 points. For a tight end, that's beautiful.
He did, yeah. So we'll go to Chark next. Chark caught 4 balls for 44 yards. Now, that's measly for him. He's the number 1 wide receiver ahead of D.D. Westbrook, especially in that Gardner Minshew offense. Pretty disappointing. No touchdowns for him. So hopefully he bounces back. He has to go to Carolina next week.
I think he had a touchdown called back, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He had an 18-yard touchdown that was nullified by a penalty. So, 18-yard touchdown, that is pretty good points in pretty much any league. It's a long pass for a touchdown. So.
And he's been giving you 16, 17, 18 points a week, so to give you 9 if that's his floor, I'll take it.
Yep. Next we'll go to Daniel Jones. 23 of 31 for 225 yards, a touchdown, but 2 picks against the Skins defense. That's something to keep an eye on, and ball security has been a thing with him since his debut.
Remember what we said last week. The famous quote, "Do not anoint him just yet," Bill Parcells.
Yep. That's correct.
Came back down to earth a little.
So our 3 guys this week, we're going to start it off. Ronald Jones, 82 yards and a touchdown against the Rams. Rams are like middle of the road defense, but the fact that they went to Los Angeles and had such a good game, that surprises me, and that gives me hope. Should give Bucs fans hope. And I think this is going to rely on Jameis going forward. Next we'll go to A.J. Brown. He bullied Desmond Trufant. 3 catches, 94 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the win over the Falcons. 3 catches for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns? That's a great day. He got you good points there if you happened to start him after he had a okay week last week.
Do you think he's going to start?
I think he's available almost everywhere.
Yeah, as of right now.
Sucking targets from Corey Davis?
Well, I mean, the fact that he only got 3 catches and he only had 3 targets of the game. Yes, he did stuff with those 3 targets, but he only got 3 targets in the entire game.
Well, again, let's go back to there's not much out there in the waiver wire. Yeah. So if this guy's out here, you can do a lot worse. A.J. Brown, Tennessee.
Yep. So now I think this guy could be a diamond in the rough. Deontay Johnson, 8% owned in the leagues, 77 yards and a touchdown in the Steelers' win over the Bengals. But the key here is that Johnson has been the Steelers' best wideout in the 2 games that Rudolph has started, producing a combined 9 catches for 129 yards and 2 touchdowns. I feel like defenses are double covering Juju, so he's forced to go to other guys, and this seems to be his guy so far. So that'll be a good thing going forward. But they do have to play Baltimore next week, so it's a tough defense to go play.
I don't know. Baltimore didn't look that great last week, so there's hope.
Yeah, well,
there is hope.
I will say Baltimore has all their starters, unlike Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, Jack's Trios. Thanks again, Jack, and we'll review again last week.
Thanks, Jack.
See how your guys perform. So thanks for those. So now Chris and I are going to go on some waiver options. I already had Ronald Jones picked out, and Jack was on him, and I already talked about him earlier in the show, so we don't really need to go there. I think he's getting more carries than Barber now, and I'd rather have him than Barber. That being said, he's not going to be a tier 1 running back, but he could be a RB3 probably. Then I'm going to preface that I already mentioned Marlon Mack was banged up last week with, I think, with an ankle. So if keep an eye on that situation. If Mack can't go, you might want to pick up Nyheim Hines or Jordan Wilkins. I think Hines got more of the snaps. So more options if you're desperate at running back. A couple sneaky picks that I have. Chris Herndon from the New York Jets tight end. I know it's probably painful to think of picking up a Jet, but last year he showed promise, and I believe Sam Darnold might be back as soon as this week, but he certainly should be back by the following week. So Herndon has 1 more week to serve his suspension. He had a 4-gamer, and they already had their bye week, so he'll be back in week 6, I believe. So that's a kind of a sneaky pick if you're desperate for a tight end. Maybe take a flyer on him. Golden Tate coming back off his suspension. I think a lot of people in leagues were kind of onto that, and but if he's still available, he's going to be step right into the Giants' offense. Sterling Shepard's pretty much been a one-man show there, and now Tate will provide another option for Daniel Jones. And my last mention will be, and again, somebody else I've already mentioned earlier, is Jordan Howard, who I believe is, as somebody who follows the Eagles closely, looks like he's been the more productive back than Sanders, the rookie. I'm sure the Eagles are going to not give up on Sanders. They're going to still be a timeshare there, which I'm sure that scares you, Chris. But, hey, Howard's been getting the goal line carries, if nothing else, even if he's touchdown dependent. You can probably count on a touchdown on most weeks from him, getting the goal line carry. So what do you got, Chris? You have anybody else to add to that list?
I see QBs, guys that are out there on at least most of my waiver wires. As of right now, they are QBs 9 and 10 on the year. Marcus Mariota and Jacoby Brissett. It kills me that I'm recommending Marcus Mariota, but I mean, like, if you need a QB and you're desperate, there's a lot of backup QBs playing right now. Those are guys that are generally available on waiver wires you can pick up. Running back. Let's see, looking through the list here.
Slim pickings.
Yeah, let's see. I'm getting through the top 20, and generally everyone. Jordan Howard, if you see him, you just mentioned him. If you see him and you're desperate, pick him up.
On the other side of the coin, if you have Adrian Peterson still, why?
Yeah. And apparently in Washington, the running back to own is going to be Chris Thompson, and he's a pass catcher.
Yep. APR league maybe, but standard league probably not much help.
If you got Devin Singletary hanging out on some waiver wires, he should be back here in the next week or two. Again, Ronald Jones, if you're desperate. Yeah, I mean, it's
not a whole lot out there for the running back. It's a wasteland out there.
Going to a wide receiver. Let's see here. Yeah, DJ Shark, if he's still on your waiver wire, which by now he's probably not, grab him. Surprisingly, I'm seeing Emmanuel Sanders still on waiver wires, which blows my mind.
Any of my leagues.
Yeah, Cortland Sutton, again, he's quietly, I mean, he's averaging 16.2 points a game. I mean, not bad for a wide receiver, too. Oh, God. If you're desperate, John Brown, he's screwed me so many times. I hate bringing him up.
Seems like if you're going to have a Bills receiver, that's the one to have.
Yeah. As far as receivers, I mean, that's pretty much things I've seen on the waiver wire. Tight ends, if you're desperate, Austin Hooper. Will Dissly still out there in a surprising amount of leagues, and I think a month in, we can say he's probably for real. I mean, he was being touted at the beginning of the season as like, yeah, he's a blocker. He's going to be a touchdown-dependent guy, but we're a month in. He's averaging 15 points a game. If you see him, grab him. Same thing with G-Reg there in North Carolina. If you see T.J. Hawkinson, he's on a bye. But after that, it's all, yeah. After that, everyone else is pretty much a dart throw, and the tight end position this year in general is just a horror show. So, let's see, and then defenses. That Tennessee defense.
Yep, that's a good one.
Real. 49ers D, if it's out there, grab it. Panthers D. Jets and Buccaneers, surprisingly. Packers and Bills, and then after that, everyone is also Rams, in my opinion.
Well, don't sleep on the Eagles' defense. I'm only saying that because they're playing the Jets. They've never lost to the Jets, knock on wood. They're 10-0 lifetime in the regular season against the New York Jets. And if Darnold's not playing, the Eagles could feast. The other one, you already mentioned, the Titans. They're probably going to be going at who's the backup for the Bills? Doesn't matter.
Matt Barkley
for the Bills. Matt Barkley against the Titans defense. I like that matchup. So that's a good one, and the Titans are usually available. So, and of course, if you have the Patriots, you're going to feast on the Redskins. So, but they're not available in most leagues. So
the only part of Tennessee's team I am personally buying this year is that defense. Mariota's just been average too many times. Henry will be Jekyll and Hyde. Right now, he's Jekyll or Hyde.
I gotta disagree with you there. I like having Henry on my team. I have a couple teams, and I think he's pretty reliable this year.
And then I want no part of any Tennessee pass catcher.
No, that's a tough one there.
Yeah, and
Corey Davis. No, been there, done that.
Kickers, whatever, they're kickers. Joey Sly, still the best kicker in the league. If he's on your waiver wire, grab him.
SportG. ChristopherMedia.net.
It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at betonline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at betonline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit betonline.net today. Bring the game home at betonline.net. It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at betonline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at betonline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit betonline.net today. Bring the game home at betonline.net. It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at betonline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at betonline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit betonline.net today. Bring the game home at betonline.net.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Sporgy.
All right, let's go to Week 5 games. Let's just go down, I guess, the Thursday night games, the Rams at the Seahawks. What a tough place to go after giving up 55 points to the Buccaneers at home. Now you got to go up to Seattle. I know the Seahawks are not what they once were in D, but you're going to have an angry Rams team that they lost, but that's a tough place to play always. And so I don't know. That's probably a pick-em game. Any thoughts on who might produce up there? Russell Wilson probably have a good chance to it. If they gave up 55 to Jameis, I bet you Russell Wilson has a pretty good game at home.
I'm letting recency bias here cloud my judgment because I'm like, yeah, it's the Rams, but it's 2 3-1 teams. It's the Man, I can't pick this. For some reason, I can't pick against the Seahawks at home. I just can't.
And the thing about the Rams is there's no more Gurley there. Gurley's there, but he's not what he once was.
Yeah, there's Todd Gurley is broken.
So if you drafted Gurley, you got to be pretty disappointed.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is,
the warning signals were there.
The Rams have a way better receiving core than Seattle, though. That's the thing. But Seattle's got a better run game. So I think you're right, man. Flip a coin on this one.
Chris Carson. I like Chris Carson. I think he'll have a good game.
From
the Seahawks' perspective, I'm looking for a good game from Russell Wilson and Chris Carson. From the Rams, Goff will probably throw for 300 yards, and Cooper Kupp will probably have a day. Maybe Robert Woods. I don't see much out of Disley maybe for Seahawks.
Cooper Kupp has emerged as the number one pass catcher in that offense.
At least we're getting some decent matchups on Thursday night. With the Eagles and the Packers and the Rams and the Seahawks. Should be an entertaining game.
Yeah.
Some of the sleepers like the Monday Night Football last night.
Or Tennessee Jacksonville for the 90th time.
Snooze fest.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Jacksonville, they are going to Carolina to play the Panthers. I think this will be a low-scoring game. I like the under if you're a betting man, but if not, let me see. Anybody worth starting? Fournette had a big game, but that Panthers defense with Luke Kuechly anchoring the linebackers, they're tough to run on. And the Jaguars really don't have a great passing attack. The Minshew show, we'll see what happens. On the other hand, what's going on with Jalen Ramsey? Still kind of like he was active, but then he was inactive, and he was on the sideline. He traveled with the team, and I don't know what's on there. He's demanding a trade, but just trade the guy. He doesn't want to be there. I wouldn't want him on my sideline.
Just send him to the Chiefs.
I'm a little biased as an Eagles fan. We really need some help in the secondary. Hoping they could work something out, but it sounds like the owner of the Jaguars is trying to keep him around, and he doesn't want to be there. anyway, that's another soap opera for that game. But
I'll tell you
without
this-
him, if he does not play, the Panthers, Curtis Samuel might have a day.
I tell you, that's been the one team I have heard mentioned with Jalen Ramsey is the Eagles. So
We'll see.
good luck to you.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, I'll tell you, CMC has said it and forget it at this point, right?
Oh yeah, that's a given. So I think this will be a boring game to watch. I think it'll be a lot of punts, a lot of running, even a dinking and dunking. So probably not the most exciting game to watch. And we'll see if Fournette can run off a couple big ones again. But I'm not seeing it against that Panthers D. The next game is the laugher of the week, Patriots at the Redskins. Start all your Patriots. Don't start any Redskins. It's pretty much that simple.
Yeah.
There's room for. I'd almost be afraid to start Brady because he'll probably be on the bench by the third quarter or watching with a 30-point lead. But you never know.
Well, if he doesn't have to toss his 5 touchdowns, I'm okay with that.
You can't not start him. I mean, can't do any worse than the 3 points he got last week.
Yeah.
Bills at the Titans. Probably another low-scoring, slogging. I like the Titans. I think the Bills are pretty good against the run, so Derrick Henry might not have a big day. Look at the Patriots. They held the Patriots to 16 points. Do you think the Titans? I mean, it is in Tennessee, but and then the Bills have not Chase Daniel. I keep getting those two backups mixed up.
To me, these are two teams with good defenses and no offenses going at each other. So I'm kind of with you, like on the last game. I'll take the under on this one.
If you got the Sunday ticket, you won't be watching this one. I'm betting, unless you're a Bills or Titans.
Yeah, unless you live in Buffalo or Nashville, you aren't watching this one.
So I wouldn't expect anything. But if you have the Titans defense, I think that's a good play against the backup quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, Matt Barkley. So then we have the Ravens at the Steelers. Maybe this is the week the Ravens bounce back, but it is in Pittsburgh, and that is a rivalry. But, man, I just didn't see much. I didn't see the Steelers at all, as you know, but I just don't see the Steelers winning this. What do you think?
No, Baltimore. I think last week was Baltimore ran into a pissed-off Cleveland team. Baltimore has 3 out of the 4 weeks has just been on fire. Granted, 2 of those weeks were the Cardinals and the Dolphins, but still, they hung with the Chiefs. I like the Ravens offense better than the Steelers offense. I'm sorry. Juju is a ghost. James Conner's the only person to own. You got the backup quarterback. I know the Steelers are at home, but I like the Ravens in this one. I like the Ravens bouncing back from, Mr. I woke up feeling dangerous, embarrassing them at home.
So yeah, start Lamar Smith, and the other guy I wanted to start was Mark Andrews, the tight end.
Yeah,
I have him in several leagues. He's been Mr. Reliable. Mm-hmm. So other than that, Mark Ingram probably a solid play too for the Ravens. And as you said, James Conner is really probably the only Steeler to rely on.
Yeah, Baltimore's favored by 3.5. So
Steelers are a home dog. Boy, how the mighty have fallen. But when you don't have Big Ben in there, that changes everything.
Well, they lost all the killer bees, all 3 of them.
Sure did. Now they're not killing anybody. Okay, we got the Cardinals and the Bengals. Wow, what is up with all these subpar games?
Yeah.
Cardinals at the Bengals. What do you do there? Kyler Murray.
This is another somebody has to win game.
I'm starting Kyler Murray, and I'm starting David Johnson against that Bengals defense.
I like the Cardinals offense a lot more than the Bengals offense.
As much as we make fun of Andy Dalton, he should be able to move the ball on that Cardinals D.
But with who? That's the problem.
Another guy that we haven't talked about who's another bust is Joe Mixon, man.
Yeah, he's got one more week. I got a lot of Joe Mixon, and he's got one more week before I cut bait with him, before I start floating him out there, for trades and things like that.
Well, in his defense, he has no offensive line in front of him, but
yeah,
that's on the Bengals.
We're back to 4 catches, no yards.
So I think just about, other than that Monday night game, and that there's a lot of bad matchups here with some bad football that we probably won't enjoy watching. So let's hope some of these, the rest of the games are competitive here. We got Falcons at the Texans. The Falcons just look like a dumpster fire right now. But this is one of those games where they could turn it around. But the Texans only scored 10 points last week, and they're at home. I think they're going to be pissed off. I like them to take it to the Falcons, who have a really banged-up secondary. This could be the week that DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson have a big day, and I like the Texans at home. Then you got the Matt Ryan show. He'll probably be behind by 2 touchdowns and throw for 400 yards and a loss and have 2 picks. That's just the Matt Ryan show. It's like the aerial show. And Devontae Freeman, forget about him. He's not going to move the ball in that Texans defense, I don't think. So then we got Buccaneers at the Saints. I'll let you take the lead on this one. The Saints look pretty good on D, but then you got the Buccaneers putting up a 50-burger on the Rams. So what are we going to see in the Superdome?
You're going to see the Saints win because they're at home. As much as I like that team better than I like Buccaneers. The thing is that basket I talked about earlier, if I don't know who you are, Buccaneers are in that basket. They've beaten good teams. They've lost to shitty teams. So I don't know about the Bucs yet. But the Saints were 2-0 without Drew Brees. They got Alvin Kamara. They're at home. And I think if you got Alvin Kamara, you're starting him. Michael Thomas having a disappointing year so far, probably because the person throwing to him is not there. You want no part of Jared Cook. Told you, last year was the outlier with Jared Cook. Jared Cook has gone back to being Jared Cook. Jameis seems schizophrenic. He's one guy one week, one person another week. So, give me the Saints in this one.
Yeah, I think the Saints defense, they held the Cowboys to 10 points. And we'll see. That Buccaneers offense sure looked good against the Rams, but this ain't the Rams. This is the Saints in the Dome.
And the Saints beat 2 playoff teams from last year. Granted, it was last year, but they beat 2 playoff teams without Drew Brees. I'm just saying.
Only thing we don't want to overlook is this is a division matchup, and all bets are off, as you know, with the Lions and the Bears.
Yeah,
the Lions
teams
and the
get
Packers.
up more for the division games.
So
I'll give you that.
At the very least, I think this will be a more entertaining game to watch than most of the aforementioned ones that we've already covered. All right, so we got the Vikings at the Giants. Will Kirk Cousins be able to go into the Meadowlands or the MetLife, whatever they call it now?
Yes.
Will they be able to take it to the Giants?
Yes.
I think the Giants feasted on a hapless Redskins team. I think Daniel Jones, even against the Redskins, started to come back to earth from that big performance. Now that teams have film on them, I think this is one where the Vikings are pissed off that they have been underachieving, and Kirk Cousins has got a little bit of pressure on him. I think he'll exploit the Giants' defense and come away with a win there.
Yeah, I think you got a rookie QB. You got no Saquon. Your number 1 pass catcher's coming back from a 4-week suspension. Vikings got all their starters. Give me the Vikings.
This is going to be the Dalvin Cook show, I think.
Yeah.
That's the guy you want in that game, and you probably get a little bit of action from Diggs and Thielen as well. So this one could be over early for the Giants. Bears at the Raiders. That's actually a decent game. We got Mac going back against his old mates.
Mac with his revenge game.
Yeah. So I think, that Bears defense is so good. Yeah, it's at the Raiders on the road, but I don't know if David Carr is going to be able to withstand what he's about to experience from that Bears pass rush. Josh Jacobs probably won't be able to run against the Bears. I don't see the Raiders scoring a lot of points in this game. The Bears playing with a backup quarterback aren't going to be much better. We're going to have another one of these 13-7 games or 20-10, something like that, but I think the Bears defense will get it done against the Raiders.
Yeah, if the Bears had an offense, I would tell you the NFC goes through them. But they
don't. Jets at the Eagles. I'm a little biased.
Yeah.
Eagles have never lost in the regular season to the Jets, and I'm going to be, if the unthinkable happens and they lose to the Jets, I'm going to be eating crow here. But, I know you put the Eagles in that basket of who are they. I think this is a week where we see what they're capable of, and I think at home they won't disappoint.
Oh, they'll beat the crap out of the Jets. No,
again, I don't know. You don't know whether to start Miles Sanders or Jordan Howard or just stay away from that mess. Hopefully you get Deshaun Jackson back. The Jets' defense really isn't that bad, but I think their offense will struggle. Even if Darnold comes back, he's going to be rusty. But that Eagles secondary is a mess. So I think Carson Wentz will score enough points though to overcome that. Jets, so you got to start Le'Veon Bell, but other than that, I don't know anybody worth starting.
Nope, I've already had Robbie Anderson and dropped him.
So it's more of the same for the Jets. Jets, just in the season. All right, we got the Broncos at the Chargers. This should be a good one. We're going back to these last few games.
You're a Chargers fan, yeah.
Yeah. That is kind of my second team. When I lived in Las Vegas and there was no other team there, I kind of adopted the Chargers as my AFC team. But that being said, it's a home game for Phillip Rivers. Chargers getting Melvin Gordon back. Of course, is there really a home game for the Chargers? They're playing that little soccer stadium in L.A. Nobody seems to like them. They're the redheaded stepchild of L.A. But I do like Phillip Rivers. I do like Keenan Allen. And I do like Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler. And those are the names that you want to have for the Chargers. Broncos, maybe Cortland Sutton, maybe.
Put it this way, the Broncos
maybe Philip Lindsay, maybe Royce Freeman. You got a bunch of maybes against a bunch of definitely starts. So I think the Chargers will come away with the win at home.
4 weeks in, the Broncos are already talking about dealing Von Miller. That's all I got to say. Like it's Broncos are already the white flag's already halfway up the flagpole for the Broncos.
Yep, they just can't seem to get it going. Emmanuel Sanders, the Broncos will probably be throwing. They'll be behind. I don't think they'll be able to run on the Chargers, so you might get some garbage time yardage.
I thought John Elway knew what he was doing. So far, the best quarterback he's brought in is Peyton Manning. Everyone else has been just shit. Did you really think Joe Flacco was going to save your team, John Elway?
I don't think he did. I think they've tried young guys and they haven't worked out either. It's just it's ugly. It's ugly in Denver. But
yeah.
So then we got the Packers at the Cowboys. I think Zeke Elliott's going to have a monster game. I mean, the Eagles even ran all over the Packers. The Packers do not have a good run defense. I think the Cowboys are at home. I think they're seething after that loss to the Saints. As much as I despise them, I don't think the Packers have what it takes to get it done. And I think
I believe Devontae Adams isn't playing. They've already
He's
come
got
out.
turf toe. I didn't know he was out for sure, but yeah, he looked
I believe I
pretty
saw
bad
something today that said he's already out for Sunday. So
it doesn't look good for the Packers faithful. Then, I mean, you got to start Aaron Rodgers. Keep an eye on that running back situation. If Jamal Williams is back, he was starting to creep up on the carries. Maybe they'll be cautious with him because he just had his concussion. But either way, I don't see Aaron Jones running for too much against that Cowboys D. If this could be the big week for Zeke Elliott, where he gets well over 100 yards and a couple touchdowns, I'm thinking.
Yeah. And
then we
got you got Chiefs and Colts.
So
a great game 50 years ago.
Well,
and not so much.
I think the Chiefs are going to get back on track in front of their loyal fans in Arrowhead Stadium.
They're 4-0. I love you say they got to get back on track.
Well, they didn't play their top game and they still got by the Lions, but they're capable of so much more, and you know that. So I think Mahomes is going to be back to getting his, a couple of touchdowns, scoring, 30 fantasy points. I think this will be a better. But don't overlook that Colts defense. They actually have played decent but you got Jacoby Brissett. He's no Andrew Luck. He's been respectable. Maybe he'll keep it close. Maybe he won't. But I don't think they're. The problem with the Chiefs is there's so many weapons other than Mahomes. You don't know who's going to on any given week. All the running backs are hurt. I guess McCoy's probably the best guy to have in that offense. I had Darrell Williams last week. I'm going to drop him. Damian Williams is still hurt, I think. He's questionable again this week. So you don't know what to do there other than maybe take a flyer on McCoy. And then in the even in the receiving game with Tyreek Hill injured, you got McCole Hardman, you got Damian Robinson. Those guys are like a crapshoot. Pick one of them. It's like throwing darts. But, you got a high ceiling. If you have one of those guys and you need a receiver, throw them in there because somebody's going to put up the numbers. You just don't know which one it's going to be. And then, of course, it's Travis Kelce, the no-brainer start, probably the best tight end in football, future Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And that's the no-brainer of the century there.
And I'll tell you what, if the Colts don't have Mack or T.Y. Hilton, this is going to be an ugly game. Well, if you're a Colts fan, it's going to be an ugly game.
And then we got back to Monday Night Football, the Browns at the Niners. So Niners coming off a bye week.
The only other undefeated team in the league other than the Pats and the Chiefs.
So I don't know what to think here. The 49ers defense was surprisingly good early. Garoppolo's been kind of like a Jameis Winston, Jekyll and Hyde guy. He's kind of got off to a slow start. But the running game's actually been pretty good with Breida. I think Tevin Coleman might be back. I heard he's questionable. He might be back. I don't know what to expect out of this game. Do you?
Nope. I was just going to say the same thing. Flip a coin.
It's a crapshoot. Will the Browns be the Browns that everybody thought they would be in the offseason when they picked up all this talent? Or can they go to the West Coast and beat the Niners coming off a bye? I don't know. But you know what? It's going to be a lot more entertaining to find out than it is to watch some of these other earlier games. There's some real snooze fests out there.
I am always leery of teams going west.
Yep. So, I guess if you put a gun to my head, I'd probably pick the Niners. But if the Browns play to their potential, they can come away with the win here. So,
but the other thing I'll say
fun.
With the Niners is a lot of times teams coming off the bye get their ass handed to them.
Yeah, we just don't know what we're going to see.
Yeah.
But Nick Chubb certainly coming off a big game. Can he keep it up? And can they really contain Odell Beckham? I think he'll be really raring to go and have a little fire this week to make a statement. I think he'll be back. So I think the Browns make this a game. I think it should be a fun one to watch. 49ers, who do you want on that team, though? Probably George Kittle.
The defense and George Kittle. That's it.
Yeah, and that running back mess is just you don't even know who's going to run and if they can run. So they actually have had success running the ball, Matt Breida, but I don't know if they'll. We'll see what the Browns bring. All right, well that's it for the. We got a couple of good games there towards the end, but I expect some low-scoring games this week from what we're seeing in the matchups. But who would have thought the Buccaneers would put a 50-burger on the Rams last week either, and there was 95 points in that game.
Yeah.
So never know what you're going to get.
And the Lions and Dolphins will not lose this week.
Not often you can say that.
Yeah.
And be 100% sure.
So yeah, overall, I think we're both in consensus. This is a weird week, both for fantasy and just for the NFL in general. Vegas won lots of money this week.
Yep. If you're a betting man, I'd say bet a lot of unders this week.
Yeah, because I tell you, I was going to bet. I was in Vegas last week, and I almost did a parlay. I almost picked the Pats to cover. I picked all these teams to cover: Pats, Cowboys, Seattle, and who was my fourth team? Damn it,
Rams.
I can't. No, I wanted none of the Rams game, but I think I would. I think I lost all. If I'd have played that, I would have lost everything because I bet the spreads.
Speaking of bets, did we make a bet last week?
I bet the Pats, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, and and the Seahawks. And yeah, I would have lost every game but the Seahawks as far as covering. So yeah.
Well, speaking of bets, did we make a wager last week?
Let me check my trusty note.
I know I lost 2 to you the week before. So I owe you 2 beers going in, but I think we made a bet last week, but if we did, I don't remember what it is. So if you don't remember, I don't remember. I guess it didn't happen.
Here we go. No, we had no bet last week. We had a bet in week 1 that you won and a bet in week 3 that...
I thought we had 2 in 1 week that I lost both of them.
Yeah, we had 2 bets.
The Kerryon Johnson against
Yeah, Miles Sanders, and then just
the Eagles and the Lions.
Yeah.
So I think I owe you 2 beers. So let's put one of those beers on the line. And the Browns at the 49ers. Who do you like?
Let's see.
I'll let you pick, and I'll take the other team. That's how much of a crapshoot this game is.
Oh my God! I can't believe I'm doing this. I like the shape of their offense better. Give me the Browns.
Okay, I will take the Niners at home on Monday Night Football, and we'll see what happens. So good luck, everybody, next week. Hope you do better than I did this week. Don't bench guys that are active if they're like highly rated, like I did with Chris Godwin. I'm not going to do that the rest of the year. If a guy's active, he's in my lineup. I'm not going to say, well, didn't practice all week. He might not play very much. Not doing that again.
Yeah, keep your eye. I mean, Sunday morning, man. Watch the shows. Watch all the pre-games. And
you know what? What's ironic? I did that, and I still benched good. I had Godwin in, and I took him out. I'm like, well, he didn't practice all week. Mm-hmm. I'm going to put Marcus Brown in. He might have one of those big days like week 1. And they got 2 points. So I'm almost to the fact where I'm going to do the opposite. I'm not going to read anything on Sunday, other than I always look for inactives. But if the guy's active, play him. That's my advice to everybody.
Yeah, just keep an eye on things. I mean, a lot of times, too, you'll have people that will all of a sudden just show up on Sunday injured, which it's one of my victories. It was in the big money league. I enjoyed it, and I would have won anyways. But the victory's a little tainted because I had played a gentleman who wasn't paying attention, and he started T.Y. Hilton. I mean, I still beat him by 40 points. So I mean, he just started Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, it annoys me when I see people not playing guys.
In his defense,
it's nice to win, but
he's not one of those guys. He's an avid fantasy footballer. I just think he's got a 2-year-old now, so Sundays aren't as free as they
it happens. We've all done it. It's happened to all of us. But I have to give one last bad beat story. I lost by 4 points in one of my leagues, and I had the Ravens defense. Got me a -6.
Ooh.
So even if I'd had a defense with a 0, I'd have won. So they ask me why I drink.
Those are the ones that hurt.
So I've been dropping some Ravens defenses this week, but probably not justifiable just 1 week. But that was just a heartbreaker to lose that way. And pick up your Vikings defense against the Giants. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
All right, that should do it.
And remember, start all Patriots.
Start all Patriots. Bench all Redskins.
Watch the Redskins end up winning. That's
one of these weeks, something crazy like that will happen. It happens every year.
Yeah.
Just don't know when or where. Just please don't let it be the Jets in Philadelphia this weekend. Anything like that. The line's already 14, and the Redskins, Patriots is 15.5. So,
all right. So this is the part where we would just remind you that we are on Twitter at the Fantasy Hack, also at Sporgy Podcast. JR and I are on Twitter Sunday mornings if you're looking for advice or you just want to talk about football. I wake up. I don't know about you. I wake up Sunday mornings I'm ready. I wake up at 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
I got the NFL Network on. My wife is like, "Oh, is football started already?" I'm like, "No, 5 hours." She just rolls her eyes. So we're up. We're on Twitter. So check us out there.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm on the West Cost. When I wake up at 8 o'clock, the games are on in 2 hours. So by 8:30 out here, the inactive list that's when I'm on. And so hit that Twitter up. We'll answer your stuff. We're here. We're here for you.
Yep. Check us out every Wednesdays. Also, make sure you check out Sporgy, the Big Show, the Moneymaker. Thursdays here on ChristopherMedia.net. We are on Spotify. We are on Spreaker. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the iHeartRadio app, Stitcher, ChristopherMedia.net. I'm sure I am leaving out something, but thank you for listening. Good luck next week, or good luck on Sunday, and we'll see you next week.
Adios, amigos.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at betonline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at betonline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit betonline.net today. Bring the game home at betonline.net. It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at betonline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at betonline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit betonline.net today. Bring the game home at betonline.net.
ChristopherMedia.net.
If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for listening, and thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.